So, do you ever wonder how a voice actor can sound like a battle cry war hero in one thing, and then all of a sudden sound like a soothing audiobook narrating, and then all of a sudden sound like a chipper spokesperson for a random commercial? Well, today I will be breaking down how different voice acting styles really are, from video games, audiobooks to commercials. Even though we might have one voice, we have to tailor it specifically to the projects at hand. And unfortunately, within this industry, if you might be amazing at one thing, that doesn't mean that you're amazing at everything else, because voice acting is so incredibly diverse. Some people think like, oh, if I did an animation, I can do anything else. Well, actually, no. Like, for instance, for commercial work, I had to do legit training to be able to get somewhat good-ish, not even good, I would say somewhat okay at commercials. While for animations or video games, for some reason it comes more naturally because I'm able to do these inflections or whatever, right? So that's how come you have to be able to understand all these different techniques, understand how diverse voice acting is. First off, we're gonna start off with video games. Video games, what are they? Everybody knows video games. You have a few characters, whether it might be somebody who's a warrior, somebody who is fighting, mushrooms and going into pipes, or whatever it might be. Video games are such a diverse niche, but essentially every video game needs a voice actor who can portray a lot of very intense emotion. Video games are the most strenuous activity on your vocal cords because, if you are, let's say, full health, your scream or your grunts, whatever, might be this specific method. If you're like partial health, your screams or grunt might be just a little bit more delayed, and you might need to do like 50 different takes of a specific scream or grunt or battle cry, whatever it might be, until you finally get it right. And that is video games. I did a video game project, and yes, that's exactly what it was. Even though it's only, a mere 500 lines, just a mere, because I was one of like the talking people. But even if it's a mere 500 lines, it took me like an entire month to do it, because I would do it once and he was like, no, I need it to have this inflection. I need this type of thing. I need the to be different. And I had to go in and retake so many times until I got exactly that perfect scream, that perfect whatever. So video games are different on that level. You have to be able to portray certain emotions when nobody can see your emotions. It's not like acting, where you can like, if you're sad, you can actually like, put your eyes down or something like, no, you have to show all of it in your voice. If you're happy, to show it in your voice. And this is also comes down to animations as well. Animations and video games have somewhat similar capabilities, just video games are more of the raw the raw grunts, the raw from like the throat yells and stuff like that. That's more video games. Animations might be a little bit more toned down on that part, but still, video games, you need training. It's somewhat hard to sometimes get it, because if you don't do it correctly, let's say you need to do a battle cry. Let's just take that for instance. You need a battle cry. You go into battle, right? Whatever. If you don't do it correctly, you could actually strain your voice and you could lose your voice. And that is terrible for a voice actor, because your voice is the most important part of being a voice actor. So you actually have to be able to train on these techniques of how to preserve your voice and to know what your limits are. If you're screaming for an entire hour, you need to know, okay, I should probably stop now or else I won't be able to talk tomorrow. Next, we're gonna go into audiobook. Audiobooks is also very specific, and not everyone can do it, even if everyone tries. Video games and animations might be easier for some people to kind of go into voice acting as opposed to audiobook, because the way that I describe audiobooks is that you're literally running a marathon. You have to be able to pace yourself. You have to have the right breathing techniques. When you're narrating an audiobook, you don't want the listener to hear all your breaths like, and then he came to the wall. And he sat there and didn't know what it was like. And then I don't know if you noticed me doing that, but pretty much I breathed loudly. Every sentence. you breathe. And if you don't practice, you're gonna narrate, let's say, an entire, I don't know, few chapters. You come back to listen to it, and all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of breaths, and they're so finicky to get out. So you have to be careful regarding your breaths. And audiobook is an art form, in my opinion. In order to be a good audiobook narrator, you have to be able to speak in such a manner that's not too fast for the listener to hear, but not too slow to where the listener feels bored and is not interested in, knowing what's going to happen. Not too breathy with it where they can hear your breath, but also not breathless, or then it's kind of weird and it feels unnatural. So it is legitimately an art form. And when I started out with my audiobook journey, I didn't do much practice. I just kind of went in it thinking I can do anything and everything I want because I'm just like so talented. It's not. My first few audiobooks are a little bit hard for me to listen to. Everybody has their books that they start out with, the techniques that they start out. I know it's just the way that things are, but audiobooks, if you really want to get into it, it is a little bit more difficult. Practice reading for a very long time. You have to practice reading in a specific tempo and measured format, measured tone, not too fast, and it's hard. That's how come I recommend you to do training or work with somebody who can assist you more, or even like when you listen to audiobook, listen how they do it and try to mimic. That's kind of my training. Was I listened to audiobook narrators and I tried to specifically mimic the way that they narrate. When they say certain words, I try to say that certain words or phrase in that same tonality or in that same pace. That did help me a little bit, but it wasn't as effective as, some training. When you are starting to narrate your book, you have to also create character sheets because you cannot have the same sounding characters all the time. They have to have somewhat differences in their tonality, in their voice to be able to differentiate. Because when you're listening, and let's say that doesn't say sometimes it just might be that line and you have to theoretically understand exactly who said what. And that's why as a narrator, you have to be able to portray that with the right tonality and the right enthusiasm, whatever it might be. Because for instance, you might have the main character, she might be in your own voice. But then if you have her husband, you have to go more deeper, maybe a little bit slower, or I don't know, maybe you have her little sister and it has to be, "Hi sister, how are you?" Whatever. You have to be able to, and if you have 10 characters, it gets really tricky because the thing is, you have to remember if you had a character in the beginning, let's just say it was some random character that was the supermarket clerk, right? And she has "Well, welcome to, did you find everything you need when shopping with us?" Whatever. It could be just a random voice. And then all of a sudden you have none of that until you get to the very end, and all of a sudden you go back to the supermarket and she's there again. And then you're sitting there "Oh crap. What voice did I do? I remember her. She was in there." And then you have to go on. If you don't do a character sheet, you'll have to go back through all of your files until you find how you specifically voiced it. And then you have to remember the way that you made your throat, whatever, two voices character again, because you don't want it to be all of a sudden completely different. So with audiobooks, it's different. It's harder specifically. It's a little bit of a challenge to narrate them, but it's also very rewarding. When I, hear a book that I've been narrating, and it's just sometimes I can't believe that was me narrating that book, and it feels kind of pretty awesome. In all honesty, audiobook narration also takes a lot longer than any other category. Audiobooks can take you days, weeks, and months to record because a 10-hour book, let's say if you need to record a 3-hour book, let's just do 3. It's a 3-hour finished book, right? When it's 3 hours, the listener listens, it's 3 hours long. It might take you 9 hours to record because when you do let's say you record one line, you mess up, you have to redo it. Let's say you listen back and oh my, that was a breathy, and you have to redo that part, or you said the wrong word, or you accidentally did a click and you have to redo it. That takes forever. So rule of thumb, however long, let's say on ACX, whatever it says, how long it says the finished rate, its finished rate is 3 hours, times 3 is how long it's going to take you to do that book specifically. And that might not even include editing, because I don't know how you edit. Some people edit fast, some people edit slow, but rule of thumb, times 3. So if it's a 3-hour book, it's going to take you 9 hours to record. So that's how come audiobooks are a marathon and are quite difficult to do. And it takes time and practice until you're able to finally perfect this type of craft. Now we're going to commercials. Commercials are another method of voice acting, and it is completely different than video games, animations, and or audiobooks. Very different. Because you are trying to sell something, a service, a product, a company, whatever it might be. You're trying to portray a meaningful story, whatever it might be. And commercial voice acting is selling the vibe, you know? You're trying to sell it however they portray it. And it's also very particular. You might just have, let's say, one line, but they want it in such a particular way that it might take you a long time and many, many tries until you get it perfect the way that they want it. Because every single word counts. Every word counts. There's different types of commercials. There's upbeat, there's professional, there's emotional, there is warm commercials, and there is punky commercials or funky commercials. There is whatever it might be. There's so many different types, and you have to match that voice to whatever that style is. If it's friendly, let's say it's friendly and natural. Start your morning right with sunrise coffee. Bold flavor, smooth finish. That might be a natural. But let's say they want it in a more energetic style. Start your morning with sunrise coffee. Bold flavors, smooth finish. Or it might be luxury. Start your morning with sunrise coffee. Bold flavors, smooth finish. There we go. That's just some examples. You have to be very precise. You have to be very particular in the way that you say even the endings, even the S's, even the syllables, whatever. You have to be so particular. And that's how come with commercial work, I actually had to do training. I went onto like an intense masterclass for like weeks on end, trying to understand how commercials work, because this is the way that I started doing my commercials. Welcome to your local hotel. We love to have you here, and we are so honored that you are a part of our family. Thank you for joining us. You have a wonderful day. I sounded more like Siri than an actual commercial spokesperson. Like, it was just like, I sounded so robotic, and I don't know why. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why that was my natural method of doing commercials, but it sucked. And literally people were like, yeah, you need training. You need to figure this out. And I trained the crap out of it, trying to get it right and trying to have the natural, like, you know, what is it? I think they said the John Krasinski. You have a sunrise coffee. It's so great. And it makes you happy in the end. Or I don't know, whatever. It's just like the natural, no care, just in the wind. I was trying to get that tonality, and I don't know why, but it was so hard. I wanted to be like, welcome to this grocery store. We have great deals this week. That's what I wanted to do. And this is not the style anymore, because the style changes throughout the years. In commercials, you also need to understand the brand identity. What is a brand trying to sell? How are you going to help identify and sell this brand to consumers, to people who watch your commercial or listen to your commercial actually more correctly? But you have to be able to identify with the brand and be able to sell this brand. If you don't stand with this brand, or it's something that you are against, like political is a very not hard, but it's just like, I don't like to get in that mess. And political commercials, if you don't identify with it, or if you don't believe in what you are promoting, the consumer is going to hear that, and you won't be actually able to showcase whatever that they're promoting. Like, specifically, this kind of falls into the category of political or science or whatever it might be. Just be sure whatever commercial you are doing, that you are able to identify with that brand, and you're able to deliver that brand's identity over to the consumers. So that kind of goes in a little bit of commercial work and how very of a specific niche it is, and how it is not as easy as it sounds, and it's not just you walk in there, say your lines, and walk out. No, it's very specific, tight directions, specific tonality, whatever it might be, with what the director or company, whatever they want. So just a little recap kind of what we went into. We're gonna do a side-by-side comparison. So here's the line. The line is, there is no turning back now. 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 Can you guess which one is which? Which one feels which one is which? First one was video game. Second one, audiobook. Third one was a spokesperson of a commercial, a little bit more on the spokesperson-y side, but commercial nonetheless. Voice acting isn't just reading lines, it's adapting to the project. Whether you're saving the world, guiding someone through a 10-hour audiobook, or convincing someone to buy a cup of coffee. So, which one do you like the best? Which one do you want to try to get into? If you found this helpful, please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow for more. Thank you, and hope you have a great one.